I call the meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Could the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Henry.
Glenn Henry, present.
Councilmember Mock.
Christy Mock, present.
Councilmember Sayre. Councilmember McKnight.
Present.
Mayor Johnson.
Present. All right. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for tuning into tonight's meeting. We value our residents and community members, and we want to make sure that anyone who wants to participate and provide input can do so. To provide input, join the meeting via Zoom conferencing services. Use the quick link at the bottom of cityofcarver.com. Information related to joining the meeting can be found by clicking on the meeting agenda. We ask that anyone wishing to address the council wait to be recognized by the mayor, be respectful, wait for your turn to speak, and don't speak over one another. Callers will still need to provide their names and addresses for the record. All right. With that, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Henry and a second by Councilmember Mock. Any further discussion? All right. Could the clerk please call the roll?
Member Henry.
Aye, Glenn Henry.
Councilmember Mock.
Aye, Christy Mock.
Councilmember Sayre.
Aye, Lori Sayre.
Councilmember McKnight.
Aye, Joy McKnight.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, Courtney Johnson. All right. Motion passes unanimously. All right. It is the portion of our agenda for community comments. So if there is anyone who wants to address the council or make comments on anything that is not on tonight's agenda, now is the time to do so. Going once, going twice. All right. Up now to presentations and reports. Tonight we are joined by Senator Julia Coleman to give us a legislative update. Welcome, Senator Coleman. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing very well. I'm so excited to come to my very first City of Carver Council meeting.
Well, we are thrilled to have you. I gave Senator Coleman a heads up on how we welcome folks to the City of Carver. Are you still up for a game of Two Truths and a Lie?
I'm up for it. I think this is really fun that you guys do that.
Okay. I will leave it up to you, Senator, if you want to give your legislative update first, or if you want to just tell us about yourself in the form of Two Truths and a Lie.
All right, well, let's start off on a fun note. I'll do Two Truths and a Lie. Okay. So hello, everyone. Again, my name's Julia, and my three facts that I'll be sharing are I graduated from the University of Minnesota with a degree in chemical engineering. I have been inside the pyramids of Giza in Egypt, and I did some training with the Navy SEALs.
Those are good ones. Okay, so we all raise our fingers as to which one we think is a lie. It is a good mix. Everybody believes number two. Come on, Aaron, you can play along. We can see you. Brenda? Oh, yeah. Nobody knows which one. Julie, which one's the lie?
Well, that's good. Chemistry is not my strong suit, so chemical engineering I did not do. My senior year after I graduated, I did go to Egypt, and we got to actually climb down into the pyramids of Giza, which there was one gentleman on our trip who was too tall to do that. It's very narrow, and you go down at an angle inside, underground to the pyramids. And I actually moonlighted in college as an actress and model, and the SEALs came to town to do some training, and they needed actors and actresses to come to play different roles. Sometimes you were a hostage, sometimes you were someone that they were trying to go after, and so we got to do a couple weeks of training with them, and it was really insane, but really fun.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you for playing along. I appreciate you indulging us, and it's always fun just to get to know a little bit more about our guests.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So what's going on at the Capitol?
Well, thank you for asking. That's why I'm here this evening. We are keeping very busy. As you all know, it's my first year there, and it's a bit of a weird year to be there. I was in the office today, and for the most part, the buildings are quiet and they're dead. A lot of our staff are working from home. A lot of the senators are legislating from home. We're advised to pretty much come in when you need to do something, like sign something, go speak on the floor about something. Other than that, it's all remote. So it's a weird year to be diving in, but there's a lot of issues that we're tackling nonetheless, even if it's over Zoom. Some of the Senate's big priorities this year are no tax increases, safely reopening our businesses, safely getting our students back in school, and accomplishing the budget this year, which is pretty hard to accomplish, such a giant budget over Zoom, but I think we're making a lot of headway on that. I'm serving on the taxes, the transportation, and the K through 12 committee or education committee. So I can give you a little bit of preview of what we're doing on there. On taxes, the number one goal I would say, aside from no tax increases, is PPP federal conformity. I know a lot of businesses and a lot of constituents, I'm sure you're hearing from too, are trying to file their taxes and are struggling with how that's going to look, not knowing about PPP conformity. We are working on that. I know Chair Nelson, that's one of her biggest priorities. It's one of my biggest priorities on taxes as well. And it is for our majority leader too. So hopefully we'll have an answer on that very soon. And I'll be sure to update my constituents on my social media pages as soon as we hear more about that. On K through 12 education, we have a number of priorities. Obviously the big one is getting the formula for the funding down and figuring out our budget. That one we're also supposed to be hearing more about in the next couple of weeks. We also have some big priorities for our students. Number one being mental health. That is something that was a big issue prior to the pandemic that has really only been exacerbated by the pandemic. So I'm encouraging a mental health, or pushing a mental health bill as well, to get our teachers some funding for some more training. And I know that there's a number of other bills going through the committee that addresses that, including tackling it from all aspects, getting counseling, addressing the screen time and the bullying, the cyberbullying going on, and really making sure that we are there for our students. I'm also pushing a bill through the legislature that reduces some restrictions on our schools, that allows them to eliminate some barriers that prevent us from having more teachers of color in the classroom. So that'll be a big bill coming up as well. We had our first hearing on that last week, and I'm really excited about that bill. And then in transportation, I think everyone can guess some of my biggest priorities have to do with Carver County, including portions of Highway 5 and 212. In fact, next week our 212 bill will be being heard. Mayor Johnson, you'll probably hear from my assistant this week, requesting a letter of support on that for the testifiers. So I will hopefully be able to get that one across the finish line. I'm really happy to hear that our chair will give that hearing. That's a huge first step. So we're trying to gather as much letters of support as we can in the meantime. And then what I'm sure everyone here is curious about is the levee project in Carver. I was thrilled today to walk into my office and to find the jackets for that sitting on my desk. We have been waiting and waiting for those. As I mentioned earlier, most of our staff is working from home, and it has put such a big backlog into getting bills written and on our desk that there are the next week is the legislative deadline, the first deadline, and there are still bills that we haven't gotten yet. So I instantly signed those, gave them to my assistant, had her drop them off and request a hearing. So I will be sure to keep everyone posted on how that is going as well. And so those are the things that are keeping us busy. And my Facebook page is a really great way to stay up to date on all of that. We're putting press releases out there and weekly updates on what's going on at the legislature. But as always, you can always reach out to me with my email, phone. I am always happy to take meetings. I have monthly coffee events, and so I'm always happy to answer questions or try to be a resource.
Great, thank you. I had mentioned to council that Senator Coleman and I met maybe a month ago, and that she was helping us get the levy bonding request out there. So those are the bills that she's referring to, just for the rest of council. Senator Coleman, do you have any, I know in the House when Representative Nash came, he thought that there was the potential for a smaller bonding bill this year. What's your take?
I've heard the same thing in the Senate, that they're thinking a smaller bonding bill this year. I know that, typically it is a smaller bonding bill during budget years, but with everything going on with COVID, who knows how much they're going to be able to accomplish. But I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get some key projects across the finish line this year.
All right. And then I also had, over the weekend, I heard from a resident who owns property downtown in our floodplain. It was Annette Hens, who everybody else on this call knows. But her question is, she had seen the state forecast for the surplus and was curious if that means anything in terms of good news for our levy project and bonding for that. I'm just curious as to your take on that.
So that's a great question. So when you look at the actual surplus, a lot of it is one-time funding. So I could see that going into a bonding rather than the budget because of the ability to, have more specific projects rather than continuous funding that we're going to be putting through from dollars that we only have one time. We just found out this on Friday, so really we haven't decided what's going to happen with that or not. But it's always good to have more funds to work with, that's for sure.
Great. Council, any questions for Senator Coleman? Joy's shaking her head. Oh, go ahead, Brent.
I just wanted to pass along to the council. I'm not sure if you knew that Senator Coleman provided the city with a letter of support for our local road improvement project grant application to the state for our 6th Street West project. So just wanted to formally thank you, Senator Coleman, for your support and advocacy for that project.
Oh, happy to. Anytime you need a letter, I'm more than happy to help out. I was really excited to hear from you guys about that.
Great, thank you for that. All right. Council, I'm not seeing anybody go off on mute. Chris is shaking her head, Joy is shaking her head. Glenn's on mute, but he appears to be shaking his head. And Lori, we can see on camera. All right. Julia, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Hope to see you in person in safer times when we all can get out of our houses more frequently than we are these days. But thank you so much for your time. Thank you for playing Two Truths and a Lie. It was fun to get to know a little bit more about you as well as what's going on in St. Paul.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. And like I said, reach out anytime if you have questions or want an appointment. I'm always happy to chat.
You know I will reach out. Okay.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Senator. Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right, let's see. Moving on, we have no public hearings. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion by Councilmember Henry
I'll second.
and a second by Councilmember McKnight. Any further discussion? All right, could the clerk please call the roll?
You're on mute, Brenda.
Thanks, Christy. Councilmember Henry.
Aye, Glenn Henry.
Councilmember Mock.
Aye, Christy Mock.
Councilmember Sayer.
Aye, Lori Sayer.
Councilmember McKnight.
Aye, Joy McKnight.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, Courtney Johnson. All right, motion passes unanimously. All right, item number 8.1, the Hammers Property Concept Plan. Ms. Smith. Smith, as you do that, I'm going to just step away and turn down the volume on the iPad because I can hear it and I can hear my voice over there. So, but I am absolutely paying attention, so have at it.
Brent, will you let me? Oh, there you go. Okay, I'm going to confirm I'm sharing my screen this time because this is when I had my snafu last time. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Mayor and Council. Tonight we are reviewing a concept plan for the Hammers property. I'll give you some more detail. So, concept plan. It's the very first step in the process. We're looking for some general feedback from the developer, so feel free to give any feedback that you might have about the project, the type of homes, the location. Any information at this point is good information. I'll also mention at this time there are a lot of unknowns. So if you ask really specific questions about how sewer or water will be routed through this property, we are going to say we do not know and we are not being elusive. Tonight we're not asking for any formal action. Again, just feedback gives us a good place to go for preliminary plat and future planning applications should the development team choose to move forward. So you might have seen this slide previously, but it's a good representation of the entire process that a project needs to go through from idea to full construction. So right now we're at the very top, the woman with the light bulb. So you'll see that there are several steps that this project needs to go through before we can go forward with any approvals. A big one for this property is also annexation. So something that happens typically with new projects in the city of Carver is the annexation step would be required, would add to our city limits, and move our city limits a bit more west than we currently are today. So some project information. This project is directly west of Meridian Fields, the D.R. Horton project along Highway 212. Directly north of the Timber Creek property we're working on with Summergate, near Carver Elementary, off Monroe Drive, off Jonathan Carver Parkway. On the left, you'll see a screen grab from our city's comprehensive plan. The color is light yellow, and light yellow means that we have the property guided for low-density single-family homes, which this project is proposed to be. So you'll see the project is outlined in red on both sides, both showing the same property, just different views. The concept plan that you reviewed in your packet shows 68 65-foot wide lots. Largely, this project conforms to our R2 zoning district, which Meridian Fields does as well. So directly east of the property is Meridian Fields, zoned R2. The Hammers property would look pretty similar, with similar setbacks, 7.5, side yard setback, front 25, rear 30. Moving through the rest of the property, you'll see that there's an extension of Fields Drive as well as Monroe Drive. I'll go through some of those details as we continue. Generally, this is the concept. You'll see something interesting, probably beautiful but challenging for the developer on this one is that a majority of the site is really wet. So a large wetland and pond complex that would need to be worked through the planning process, identified with a wetland delineation so we can make informed decisions about what works for this property and what does not. And then there are 5 major topics I want to talk through with you, and then we can hit questions on any of the above or other things you have questions about. So number 1, you'll see in the corner of the concept plan that there are 3 lots that look a little bit different than the 68 that are fully outlined on the property. So this area is what we call a ghost plat. So what a ghost plat is, it's not included in the Hammers property because this property owner will not be annexed into the city and they are not included in this project. What a ghost plat does allow us to do, it allows us to plan effectively for when that property owner does choose to sell. So at this point, if that property owner were to want to sell in 5 years, we would have city utilities in the looped street that they could connect to. We would not need to go back, dig up the street to add these 3 homes. So it's a way for us as a project review team to say, we understand that there likely will be homes there in the future. What can we do today to set them up for success? Number 2 is location to Highway 212. So you'll remember with Meridian Fields, we had some long, extensive discussions about noise and what that would mean for Meridian Fields and the type of construction on that property. So you'll see on this concept plan, there's an area of buffering with some landscaping. I anticipate there will additionally be some berming in that area. But like Meridian Fields, prior to preliminary plat approval, a noise study will be required, which gives us an idea of what type of sound will hit this development. If you'll remember with Meridian Fields, there were a portion of the lots that required upgraded construction materials, so a different type of windows were required to mitigate the sound from Highway 212. Not sure what that will look like here, but we anticipate that there will be discussion about a noise study with this project. Number 3, you'll see that there is another piece that will be an exception or someone who is not part of this project. And you might be wondering, why isn't this area ghost platted as well? As a project review team, we feel like the area with number 3, with the star over it, that portion of the project is more likely to develop with Lenzen than with this property. So Lenzen is the next property west. When that project comes in, we anticipate that this could be held an outlot by a private property owner, and there could be a cul-de-sac in this area. Based on what we know about the property right now, if we removed 1 and 3, the number of lots that would be developable on the site would likely not make it work for the development team to move forward. 4, like I mentioned, is a large wetland. We are hoping to explore this area as potentially a loop trail, depending on the type of wetland that it is, and if there's space that we could potentially have a loop trail in the area. And then 5 is Monroe Drive. So thinking about the collector street, that will be required. Something that's interesting about the timing of this project is that Timber Creek, directly south, is also developing at the same time. So they both need Monroe Drive for access. There is access through Meridian Fields, but not a ton. Monroe Drive is required to get full access to the development. So similar to, again, Meridian Fields and their work with United Properties for the Quick Trip, the groups will need to come to an agreement about how Monroe Drive is constructed. The city is not a party to that agreement. We typically review it, but we are not a signer of the agreement. We just review it to make sure that Monroe Drive will indeed be constructed in a way that works for the city, also how it works for our comp plan, and the pretty extensive work that we have done to make sure that Monroe can serve property west of our current city limits. So here it is, the concept plan imposed with Meridian Fields. So you'll see really similar lot sizes. Moving through a wetland, Meridian Fields also has a pretty large wet area here with some lots of the conservation easement. We'll explore what's needed for the wetland as we start to learn more about the project. And the builder for the project is Brandel Anderson, which is a group that we currently do not have in Carver. So a new product hitting the market, but pretty typical of the type of home that we're seeing in Carver. Traditional 2 stories largely with some single story units available, largely 3-car garage. So at this point, Jason Palmby has joined the call. He's part of the development team. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions, talk through any feedback you have for the development team.
All right. Hey, Erin, I have a question just before we go in. You said something about removing 1 and 3, and they're not. So both areas 1 and 3 are part of the Hammers property, correct?
Today, yes.
Okay, but if it was taken out and they were made their own separate lots, that would ruin the equation for developing this in terms of density and all that kind of stuff.
Correct. 1 is a little bit easier, that it's a pretty squared off area that we can do the ghost platting. The 3 over on the westerly property line is a large chunk of land that would likely gobble up several of the units that would make the site. It's challenging already for the wetland, but if you take away that area for development too, I would say it would make it even more challenging.
Okay. And then my only other question is that Town Road is not a collector street, correct?
Correct.
Council, Glenn, it looks like you're off mute.
The planning commission loved the idea. Their only concerns were the buffers that were going to be on the 212 border. And Aaron hit it with the changes of the special windows and stuff. And then I think Mr. Wygand had his only concern was where was the road going to the west, which is going to be the Lenzen property. But he had 2 concerns about those 2 lots there, and I believe those are outlots, correct, Aaron?
Like the road that looks like it's going into Lenzen?
Yeah.
Yes, so outlots would be on both sides of the road.
Got it. Yeah. Other than that, the planning commission loved it, and they want to see some trails in the wetlands. So that's all I've got.
Thanks, Glenn. Joy and then Christy, if that's okay.
Okay, so the ghost plot, star number 1. So by doing that, when that property owner sells their property, does that force it to be split into those 3 lots then? They couldn't just sell it and make it and just leave it as is?
So at that point, should that property owner want to sell, we don't have land use authority over that property since it won't be annexed into the city.
Oh, okay.
So they would have the right to continue using the house as a single family home as long as they should choose. But if at some point they do choose to leave and sell to a developer, we could say, it could be this development team, it could be Brandel Anderson, or it could be Lennar coming in and buying these 3 lots.
Okay, got it. I wouldn't just understand.
If I may,
Yeah.
Jason Palmby, the part of the development team, if I may interrupt. Just to clarify one point on Star 3, which is the larger outlot to the left. That is currently owned by the Hammers family, and there's a member of the Hammers family that would like to continue to live there, and at this time they're not interested in having that be a part of the development. And so that's the primary reason why it was laid out the way it is. Maybe in the future they would want to do something, but at this point they're interested in staying put.
Okay. I guess I don't have any other comments. It looks like it would fit in quite well with the development to the east, so that's a good thing, I think.
Thanks, Troy. Go ahead, Christy.
Erin, can you pull up the presentation again so we can see it?
Which slide would you like?
Let me see here. I'm just making it a little bit bigger, quick. Can you go, actually this one, yeah, this is just perfect. So, sorry about that. So I'm looking at this. I love the wetland. If we can connect it and have some trails around it, I think that's a fantastic idea. I'd like to see something a little bit different in our developments because straight cookie cutter is not my favorite. So I'm glad to see that there's at least some different kind of interest within this development. I had a couple of questions and comments, I guess, about lot 3 and 4 in block 2. So lot 3 comes to a point, and we have a couple other spots in the park that come to a point at the back of their lot, and it's very awkward. And I was wondering if there is a way to possibly reshape that. If the two neighbors put a fence up, you have a really strange looking backyard with a point when it comes to maintenance and things like that. So I don't know if Erin or the developer here, sorry, you're off screen now, so I can't quite see here. Have any comments on the shape of those lots, or maybe they can be looked at again to reshape that a little bit?
We can definitely explore that through preliminary plat. Maybe like smoothing out that curve a little bit might do it. I'll also say high lots, like you said, in community park, they're pretty common. So if we can work to figure it out, we can absolutely do that. But they do happen from time to time, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know
it's a good point about the fence. So a strange yard.
It does make for a strange yard. When we're looking at block 4 then, and we're looking at the 8, 9, 10, 11 there, I guess, I can't see on this one for the elevations. Will that seem okay when those lots are all coming together? Because again, 9 and 10 back up to 11, but then 8 carries on past it.
So the area where the proposed cul-de-sac is, it's relatively flat there into the wetland. So it should work out for layout in that area. Okay. You'll see like close to this Hammers piece that will be retained. The numbers here are the topography marks. Yep. You'll see that there's just one here and then the next one is here. So this area is pretty flat.
Okay. So we were talking about doing a trail back to that for the wetland in this. Is that going to connect to what's next to the right here? I can't quite tell what that picture is. That continued wetland that way?
So this area is wetland, yes.
Yep.
I would say, yes, we absolutely will explore some connection, but I'll say around a wetland there's going to be some constraints about potentially crossing. But yes, it would be our goal that it would connect to a larger system so other people could easily have access to the trail, not just these homeowners.
Okay. And does the wetland end kind of clean at that point where the road is, or does there have to be some mitigation there?
We'll likely discover a lot of that information at preliminary plat, but something we can definitely explore with the wetland delineation.
Okay. Other than those comments, I think it looks great. Thanks.
Thank you. Lori?
Yeah. What stage within the approval processes, and I realize this is so preliminary, do we start seeing like park dedication or trails that have been alluded to? Is it too early to ask for that? And when do we start seeing how that could possibly shape out?
I would say if you have strong ideas or opinions at this point, it's a really great time to bring those up. But a lot of the nitty-gritty details about what a trail might look like in this area would come with preliminary plat.
Preliminary plat, okay. No, as far as ideas, I think it's just kind of consistent with, you know, what's been talked about as far as, you know, trail connectivity and just, you know, utilizing what is probably there right now for, you know, just the nature. Or if there's something we don't currently have, you know, if that's something we can add to our park trail system. Was the only kind of, not really a question, but just kind of a thinking out loud comment.
All right. Anything else, Lori?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see. I think that's my last question. Is for Mr. Palmy. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm just curious if there's an affordability component to these homes.
Thank you, Mayor. To answer the question, these lots and the houses that we're going to build, they're single family, and we're looking at probably starting in the low 400s and probably ending somewhere in the mid 500s. That's kind of where this is laying out, given the cost of construction, given the cost of land, given the cost of everything. It's the that's kind of how this is going to lay out.
Okay, and no affordable units.
No affordable. I guess I'll ask the question. What are we defining as affordable?
Yeah, I think there's an affordability component that's based off of the area media income. And what's affordable for that? I don't have that number in front of me, but I think it's something like 60% of the area median income. It's certainly not 400. With all due respect, it's not a $400,000 home.
Okay. Yeah. The proposal that we're looking at right now is starting in the low 4s and up into the mid 500s.
Okay. Thank you.
So in that regard, that does not the affordability.
Thank you. And then again, just to confirm, and I know Aaron mentioned it, but all of those homes that are right backing up to 212 will have the building materials that ensure that freeway noise is not an issue for those folks. Correct?
Yes, and this concept plan doesn't do it justice, but what we intend to do behind lots 1 through 10 is create a buffer or some pretty extensive plantings to help mitigate not only the sight line, but some of the noise. But then in addition to it, as Aaron has alluded to, a sound study, noise study similar to what Horton provided on their development to the east will be conducting that as well and using those to mitigate that. Okay.
All right. Let's see. I think that is it for my questions. I'm just trying to draw out here so I can see everybody. Council, any more questions? Christy's shaking her head. Lori's shaking her head. Glenn is shaking his head. Lori?
Nope.
Okay. All right. I do not know that we have any other questions. I think that we shared a little bit of feedback, but a motion is not required of this, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Aaron, are you clear on any direction that you needed from us?
Yes, I think we will continue to explore the wetland area, some trails throughout the general area. Largely, the project conforms with our comprehensive plan, and the proposed guidance will likely mirror what we have in the area. So we will meet with the development team. Should they choose to move forward, we'll come forward with other applications to the council.
If I may, Council and Aaron, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to give some feedback to this. It's invaluable. I thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks for Thanks for joining us tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you. All right, so let's see. Moving on to commission appointments. Ms. Sans-Eiden.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Brent, I'm wondering, can I share my screen here? Is everyone able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you again, Mayor and Council. As you know, the City Council conducted commission interviews last Monday, February 22nd. So tonight you would be discussing those interviews and then making appointments for those openings. I have those identified on the screen here. We'll go through one commission at a time. And I have the appointments there. And in looking at what you've done in the past, I know last year you had an individual motion for each appointment. And I would guide you through that process here on the screen. So with that being said, we would start with the HPC there. You will see the applicants there on the right-hand side, and we do have 3 openings there as highlighted in yellow.
So are you ready for motions then, Vicki and Courtney? Should we move forward?
Sure. Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Well, as the liaison to the commission, and on the HPC one seems a little bit easy here. So, I would like to recommend David Schultz to the HPC as a full board member.
I'll second that. So we have a motion by Councilmember Mock and a second by Mayor Johnson.
Excuse me, Mayor and Council.
Go ahead, Brent.
Larry, if it's appropriate, could the council just do this by consensus and then do a motion for the whole slate? Could we do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Christy, have at it.
I will amend my motion that I would like to appoint David Schultz as a full board member. I would like to approve David Pasco as a full board member. And I would like to approve Jill Finney as the second alternate.
I will make a second to all of those. Any further discussion?
No discussion for me.
Nope, good recommendation.
All right. Could the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember
Do you
Henry.
need a second?
I seconded it, Lori.
Thank you.
Councilmember Henry.
I, Glenn Henry.
Councilmember Mock.
I, Christy Mock.
Councilmember Sayer.
I, Lori Sayer.
Councilmember McKnight.
I, Joy McKnight.
Mayor Johnson.
I, Courtney Johnson. All right. The motion for the appointment of David Schultz, David Pasco, and Jill Finney to the HPC as full board member, and second alternate, respectively, passes unanimously. All right. Moving on to the Parks Commission. I will make a motion to have Kaylee Swanson and Jeremiah Wojciechowski appointed as full board members and have Sarah Morrow appointed as a first alternate to the Parks Commission.
I will second that.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, could the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Henry.
I, Glenn Henry.
Councilmember Mock.
I, Christy Mock.
Councilmember Sayer.
I, Lori Sayer.
Councilmember McKnight.
I, Joy McKnight.
Mayor Johnson.
I, Courtney Johnson. So we have Kaylee Swanson, Jeremiah Wojciechowski, and Sarah Morrow unanimously appointed to the positions of full board member, and the first alternate, respectively, for the Parks Commission. All right. Moving on to the Planning Commission. Just one note, we had the first alternate, Steph Griesinger, apply. So if we choose to move her into the full board position, we will have to backfill her position as the first alternate. So with that, is there a motion for anyone?
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Stephanie Greinsinger to board member the term that ends on 3/1/2024.
And then do you have a motion to backfill for her position?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion for Phil Schreckender to be the first alternate for the position that expires 3/1/22 to backfill that opening.
I'll second that.
We have
Exactly what I was going to recommend.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Who is the first alternate on that?
So it's Steph Greisinger. The open positions
Yep.
were for
Yep.
Jim Weigen's role, and then by appointing, if we chose to appoint Steph Greisinger to a full position, we are then backfilling for her current position, which is through next year as the first alternate. Got it, Glenn? Does that make sense?
Yeah, but who is, if she gets appointed to the full-time board position, then we will still have a vote to fill the first alternate, correct?
No,
I didn't hear her name.
Lori's motion was
And
to
I
give.
added.
Oh, Phil Schrecker?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Correct.
Any other discussion?
Joy, are you the planning commission liaison or is that you, Glenn?
That is I. I am the planning commission. liaison.
Thank you.
I will say that this has been an extremely interesting slate of people that applied for this position. And I wish we had more openings.
Great.
All right. With that, could the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Henry.
Nay.
Councilmember Mock.
Nay, Christy Mock.
Councilmember Sayer.
I, Lori Sayer.
Councilmember McKnight.
I, Joy McKnight.
Mayor Johnson.
Nay. Motion does not pass. There were 3 ayes, Lori and Joy, and I'm sorry, 2 nays.
2 ayes.
2 ayes.
3 days.
Thank you. There were 2 ayes, Councilmember Sayer, Councilmember McKnight, and 3 nays, Mayor Johnson, Glenn, Councilmember Henry, and Councilmember Mock. With that, I'll open it up to another motion.
I will make a motion to appoint Jim Wigan to the full-time board position.
All right. I will second that. So we have a motion to reappoint Mr. Wigan to the full board position from Councilmember Henry and a second by Mayor Johnson. Any further discussion? All right. With that, can the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Henry.
I, Glenn Henry.
Councilmember Mock.
Hi, Christy Mock.
Councilmember Sayer.
Nay, Lori Sayer.
Councilmember McKnight.
I, Joy McKnight.
Mayor Johnson.
I, Courtney Johnson. All right. Motion passes 4-1 with Councilmember Sayer voting against.
Yep.
You have something to say, Glenn?
I was going to make another motion to approve Stephanie Greisinger to
You don't-
the first.
You don't have to. You don't have to. She's in a.
Have to. It's not,
Okay.
not till next year.
Got it.
You're 1 year early, Glenn. All right.
Well, I mean, in Glen, 4 of these positions are going to need to be approved next year. So
yeah.
I think there'll be a lot of opportunity for these applicants to come back in front of the
yeah.
council.
Yep.
Brent, oh, sorry. Brent,
So-
can I ask one question? So we have, most of them are, on the 2 different years that are coming up, and then we have one random one. Can you explain why there's one random year that doesn't match any of the others?
Well, and maybe on top of, to pile on to Christy's question, I wonder if next year we couldn't appoint somebody to a 2-year term to kind of get folks back on track so that it's 2 positions that are vacant every year when we're doing this so that it's more consistent.
Mayor, Council, a couple of things. So, one, I don't have it in front of me, but the terms were intentionally done to kind of spread that out to kind of match that 3-year term. If it's 2-year, it'll end up being a 4-year term. Because there'll be a break, because we wouldn't want your full commission to turn over. The second part of that is you can do it however you like. We might have to modify our ordinance. I'd have to defer to the city attorney because I think it's spelled out in the city code. But that's just changing the code, which is simple enough to do it. We just need to understand what your expectations and needs are, and we can adjust accordingly.
I think I would like to see, rather than having just one position come up, that there's a little bit more of a, where it matches the other commissions, where they have a couple of different years there with a couple of different positions coming open, rather than this sort of rogue one just randomly coming by itself.
Yeah, I agree with Christy. I get it that because there are 7 commissioners on each commission, we are going to either have 2 openings or 3 openings, depending on the year. But planning just seems a little wonky, and I would love to see us next year. Next year we are going to have
We're gonna have 4 next year.
4 positions open. I would love to make one of those just a 2-year role, so that they could get caught up, so that there will always be a minimum of 2 openings on that commission.
Vicki, would you mind bringing that up again? I'm kind of struggling to understand. Can you just bring up you have your agenda packet up, Vicki? It should show in there too.
Brent, I have mine up right now. If you want to give me co-host permission, I can share.
I gave it to you.
Can you see it? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So I'll just, because my screen's not even seeing. So if you look up at the top ones for HBC, we've got a couple that are 24, a couple that are 22, and a couple that are 23. And then we just have this kind of, said the rogue one here for the Planning Commission.
Where's the rogue one? The 24?
The one that we just filled, yeah.
Oh.
In that there were 2 or 3 openings on every other commission. This one, there's just 1. But next year there are 4 openings that are terms that end in 22.
You want them to be...
We would like 1 more at least to match the 24, so that when we do this, at least 2 openings come up during each cycle, rather than having only 1 opening.
Okay, so you want one of those terms to be only a 2-year term
next year, but then when it expires, it would go back to being a 3-year term, so that it will get back on the cycle, so that every year when we do this, there's a minimum of 2 slots we're filling on each commission.
Well, because you have 7 members, you'll...
Yep.
Okay.
But a minimum of 2. Yep.
Yeah, completely even, but we need more than just 1.
Does that make sense, Brent?
I'll figure it out.
Okay. I've
got a whole year.
We'll help you. Okay, with that, let's move along to city communications or city manager update. Brent, do you want to go first?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to check in. I sent an email out regarding the strategic planning exercise on Thursday and Friday. There's some logistic information in there. Primarily, probably one that's essential is we're providing one lunch during Friday. I believe Vicki sent out an email with some abbreviated menu options. So if you can get back to Nikki with your selection for that. The balance of kind of food and drink for the 2 days, we're asking everyone to bring their own, just so that we're not having to have a table out that we're all touching for related to food and drink, etc. But we will both provide a takeout lunch on Friday. Are there any other logistical items, that we're all kind of digitally face-to-face that the council has that you have questions that I can try to answer for you tonight? Okay. Speaking of commissions, I've connected with Aaron. The Parks Commission is going to be lead dog on an effort to look at pet waste solutions.
Nicely done. Well done.
Just a lot of it is, frankly, pretty arbitrary of where you put that. So I thought the Parks Commission could really be in a good position to, look at the needs, make some recommendations, and then eventually get that to the city council. So we'll be working on that later on this year or into the winter and into the first part of spring. Also wanted to mention Chad, Vicki, and I are meeting with Wold Architects, or Architect of the City Hall project on Wednesday. We're concerned about how the flooring in the Village Hall room is holding up. As you know, we haven't had many events in it, but anytime a chair is kind of pushed back or tables are moved, it leaves either a streak or a scratch in the wax. And if you have an opportunity to kind of walk through the space, and I'd be happy to kind of walk you through on Thursday or Friday if you're in the building, or when you're in the building, to show you. Just feel like a floor like that should be holding up better. It's a commercial grade kind of vinyl flooring, and so we want to look at who we replace it, what are our warranties related to that, and so Walt's going to be able to look at that. So if you have comments now, or once you look at it, if you have some perspective to share, be open to that. And then just a little preview. I got some feedback related to kind of where things are located in the city, and Aaron is nice enough to put together, and you should be getting it shortly, a little subdivision map. I know we often talk about Meridian Fields or Timber Creek, but basically kind of a cheat sheet, or for you folks that grew up in the 90s, a Cliff Notes version of where each subdivision is. Older, which is probably normal since I am getting older every day. But when your 10-year-old keeps talking about the olden days when you're in high school, it just doesn't look good. So, but long story short, we'll be getting that map, and we're going to try to put that out publicly too, because I think oftentimes we get used to saying where Meridian Fields is or Meadows at Spring Creek, and residents are a little bit behind. So just a little information project that Aaron's putting together. So happy to answer any questions on any other projects that you might be looking for.
I appreciate that map. I think it's going to be tremendously useful. It's never going to be able to prevent me from saying, which one is that again, Brent? So we're talking about the new development. So thank you. Right. Council member updates. Joy, do you want to go first?
Sure. Let me pull up the right note here. Okay, so I have an update from Southwest Transit. We had another meeting. Our work session was a session with the Met Council, just kind of talking through some open issues and concerns that Southwest Transit has, as Met Council is a large part of their funding. And then a couple of updates I wanted to share from the main meeting. I don't know, you may have saw it was publicized in the Chaska Herald. Southwest Transit partnered with the city of Chaska to run some vaccine shuttles and provided 120 Chaska seniors with vaccines. So the seniors just got on the bus, got their vaccine, and got off. They never left the bus. But that was a nice partnership, and they're looking for more partnerships like that, where they can help with the vaccine distribution. And starting next week, they are rolling out a new service, the 494 Prime service. So it's essentially servicing the 494 corridor from the Southwest Transit area, which includes Mall of America, the Best Buy campus, Normandale College, and the airport. So some new services that they're rolling out as well. We also had a Carver Business Council meeting, which was good. I know Aaron shared updates about farmers market and some the Hammers development that we just talked about. What was exciting is I think a lot of the businesses in the chamber are really excited about spring and getting outdoors and getting together in some kind of way and fashion as things open up. So it sounds like not just Carver Liquor, but also I think the Lions are actually planning some sort of coming out celebrations and food trucks and things like that downtown. So I think that all sounds just fantastic, I gotta say. So some enthusiasm for spring, for sure. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Lori. Glenn?
Planning Commission met, and we had the Hammers project that we just spoke about. That was the big to-do with the Planning Commission. And just want to reiterate that Thursday we're doing everything at City Hall, correct, Claire, for the strategic planning session?
Correct, we'll be in the council chambers.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, Christy?
So we did have an HPC meeting last month, which is only March 1st, so it seems like we just had one. But David Pasco, he was voted again tonight. He is our vice chair now. We had an opening for vice chair, so that's great. We had one thing come before the commission, which was approved, and we did talk about the letter that gets sent out in the spring, letting folks who live in the historic district as a reminder to say, hey, we know it's spring, you're going to be wanting to do house projects. As a reminder, here's here's what the guidelines are, or here's where to find them. So I just wanted to make sure that we're on top of that, so that goes out as we come up here. And then I also thought, just for marketing purposes, possibly we could put some before and after photos or something rather than this really dry looking letter, because I live in the historic district, that again, it's just a little bit dry, just with the writing. Maybe if we could jazz it up a little bit so that people can see some of maybe before and after, and then it's hopefully a better incentive for them to go to the website and actually look up the guidelines. Let's see, Steamboat Days. We are beginning planning for that. So that is, we are planning on a go. I mean, it's early, but this is happening. It's just going to happen. I'm just saying that it's just going to happen. We're in obviously very early planning. It's a little late as compared to starting last year, but some of the things we had booked last year just carried over to this year, so we haven't had to meet on that. So we will be meeting as a group soon. We're just getting that ready. So this fall, September 10, 11, and 12.
Thanks, Christy. Thank you. Lori, any updates?
We have on the schedule, as liaison for Parks Commission, we have on the schedule a Monday, March 8th meeting, but we often will just kind of see how the agenda shapes out. And if there's things for the agenda, we'll meet. Otherwise, tonight we may be able to put that off till the next month. So that's all I have. No other updates or comments. Thank you.
All right, thank you. A couple things from me. Again, just a reminder of the strategic planning session on Thursday night and Friday. Brett mentioned the documents that he sent out. There are a couple homework items in there, so please be prepared. We had a community leaders meeting. That's the meeting with the mayors and the city managers from each of the 4 communities with the school district. No new news was shared in that meeting about if they're heading towards a referendum this fall, but it's looking more and more likely that they're heading that direction. Kind of doubling down on what Glenn mentioned earlier, we had an amazing group of applicants for our commissions. It's always good to see so many folks who want to get involved. It kills me a little bit that we have so many folks who want to get involved, but we only have so many slots to fill and we can't take them all. But I know that there are a lot of other good ways that folks can get involved in our community, if not through one of our city commissions. But thank you to everybody who applied. I have been a guest reader at Carver Elementary, reading books. They're doing books on diverse topics and from diverse authors over the last couple of weeks. So I've been reading to a bunch of classes there. It was funny, this morning, read to a group of fourth graders, and they don't have questions about the books, they have questions about me as mayor and what kind of things I do. And I always use the example of the Jonathan Carver Parkway project is coming, and you guys will be able to see that from your school. And boy, were these kids worried about their school buses not being able to get into school. And the teacher kind of explained, these are kids who haven't been to school or been on and off going to school because of the pandemic, so they want to make sure that they can absolutely get there. So I promised them that hell or high water, I did not use those terms with fourth graders, but we would absolutely make sure that their school buses get there. And then the only other thing that I wanted to bring up that I neglected to do 2 weeks ago is I told you guys all that I met with a representative from the Shakopee, Mdewakanton, Sioux community about their new organics facility that they're going to be putting in just on the other side of the river at 41 and 169 roughly. They also have a service where they do organics pickup. And I know that in Carver County specifically, with the Carver County Environmental Center no longer doing pickup or letting you drop off kind of yard waste or organics at their facility in Chaska. I know that a lot of folks are kind of scrambling and trying to figure out what they can do with that. The service that the tribe provides is all you really need is kind of a parking lot where folks can come and drop everything off. I believe that Chaska does this. I don't know that if the Mdewakanton is the group that they work with, but you go in on a Saturday, you drop off all of your organics, and then they come in with all the equipment, pick it up, and then take it to their organics facility and turn it into mulch. I would like to investigate that a little bit more and see what the costs are associated with that, because I think especially in both the spring and the fall that there's a tremendous need for that for our residents. I think my level of interest really varies on how much it costs to do these kinds of pickups and what the staff commitment would be, how much staff time it would take. But I'd like to look into it a little bit more for our residents. So in keeping with our policy of bringing it up in this venue and then seeing if we can get more information on it for a future work session, I just wanted to volley it in front of the group to see what y'all thought. If there were any objections to moving forward with this. Hearing none, I will assume there are no objections to, I have connected Brent with the individual from the Mdewakanton. And Brent, if we could, I don't know, I guess I'm just curious on prices, so I don't know that we necessarily need a presentation, but just what a yard waste drop-off would kind of cost to see if we could bring that service to the folks at Carver.
Memo to Chad will be leading our effort related to that.
Got it. Thank you, Chad. I appreciate you being voluntold for that.
Thank you. I'm taking good notes.
Okay. I'm sure, well, I can forward you the email or the contact person, or Brent can.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll follow up with Chad.
Okay.
And just for some background,
yeah.
we'll work on it together, but as it relates to kind of, we had planned a little bit of doing that on our own and talking about different types of equipment, so I feel like there's some synergy that just make sure Chad understands what they're proposing and how it would impact our staff, if at all. Just oftentimes they do drop sites, and that requires maybe a skid steer on site to accommodate some of those needs. I do have one additional update when you're done here.
I am done. Go ahead.
I asked Vicki to have an update related to COVID related to our picnic shelter site, so if we could take that away.
Mayor and Council, as you mentioned, the weather getting nice. Our parks will be opening officially on April 15th, and I think because of the nice weather we're experiencing, we are getting some requests for people to reserve our park shelters. So in looking at what the state guidelines currently are, what we are telling people is we will be following the state guidelines at the time of the reservation, and they are signing a COVID document that acknowledges that they are aware of that. And currently what those guidelines state is that in following the outdoor events would be 25% capacity. So I have listed there the 4 park shelters that we currently have, what the capacity is, so we can adjust accordingly as the state does make changes. And right now, again, we are at that 25%, so that's what we will be operating under until we receive other information from the state. I don't know if anybody has any questions about that, but I just wanted to provide that update, let you know that that's what we are currently doing.
Vicki, just to clarify, as the state raises the numbers, let's say it goes to 50%, if they rent it today, and then let's say July 1st, I mean, they rented for July 1st today, and now the percentages go up, that goes, it doesn't, I'm sorry.
Exactly.
It goes up to that 50%. It's not locked in at this one.
Exactly. We do have some reservations already, and that they have been told that we will keep them posted on what the information is as we become aware of it.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks for pointing that out, Vicki. I guess I did not realize that the capacity applied to the outdoor spaces as well. So thank you for bringing that up. All right, go ahead, Lori.
Sorry, I know I already gave my updates, but I'm proud of our council that we continue to put in the budget the cleanup day. And I just want to, get an early reminder of people that it will be May 15th. So if you're like my household, it's either like Mother's Day weekend or fishing opener. So Mother's Day weekend is the week before. The May 15th is fishing opener weekend. And just really for us to pay for this and provide this service, people just plan ahead, be aware that it's a 6x6 foot by 14 foot collection area. But I think it's great we can continue to offer that, but residents can start planning to be able to get their stuff out on the curb for May 15th.
And I think it's 6x6x4.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, 6x6x4.
Thank you, Lori. That's a good mention. I know that I always find stuff the day after cleanup day, so I start a pile always the day after. So thank you.
Oh, to piggyback on that, Lori, the Lions are also doing their shredding event up at Community Park.
Oh, good. Okay.
Oh, and that's a free service. If you would like to donate something for it, the Lions will certainly accept it, but otherwise it's a free service up there.
Cool.
All right. Any other comments, questions, notifications? If there are none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion by Councilmember McKnight. And I'll make a second. We have a motion by Councilmember McKnight and a second by Mayor Johnson. Any further discussion? All right, can the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Henry.
Aye, Glenn Henry.
Councilmember Mock.
Hi, Christy Mock.
Councilmember Sayer.
Aye, Lori Sayer.
Councilmember McKnight.
Hi, Joy McKnight.
Mayor Johnson.
Hi, Courtney Johnson. Motion passes unanimously. We are done for the evening. Everybody have a good night. Thank you.